Welcome back to my channel, Simplified English 101. If you are new to this channel, please remember, like this video, leave a comment. Do not forget to subscribe to my channel and ring that good old notification bell so that you can be informed when a new video is posted. In today's lesson, we are going to look at the English B, that's the paper 1, May-June 2021 CSEC past paper. This video will be part 2 and will focus on the poetry aspect of the paper. If you missed part 1 of this video, be sure to check that out. Let's begin. The poem reads, "In her room at the pro of the house, where light breaks and the windows are tossed with linen, my daughter is writing a story. I pause in the stairwell, hearing from her shut door a commotion of typewriter keys like a chain hauled over a gunwale. Young as she is, the stuff of her life is a great cargo, and some of it heavy. I wish her a lucky passage. But no, it is she who pauses, as if to reject my thoughts and its easy figure, a stillness, greatness in which the whole house seems to be thinking. And then she's at it again with a bunched clamor of strokes, and again is silent. I remember the days the starling, which was trapped in that very room 2 years ago, how we stole in, lifted a sash, and retreated not to affright it. And oh, for a helpless hour, through the crack of the door we watched the sleek, wild, dark, and iridescent creature batter against the brilliance, drop like a glove to the hard floor or the desktop, and wait then, pumped and bloody, for the wits to try it again. And how our spirits rose when suddenly sure it lifted off a chair back, beating a smooth course for the right window, and clearing the sill of the world. It is always a matter, my darling, of life or death, as I had forgotten. I wish what I wished to you before, but harder." The instruction says we are to read the following poem carefully and then answer items 31 to 40. So let's look at question 31. It reads, stanza 1 creates the image of. When we look at stanza 1, it says, "In a room at the pro of the house, where light breaks and the windows are tossed with linen, my daughter is writing a story." Stanza 1 uses the word pro. For those of you that know, it is the front of a ship. If we examine the stanza, we realize that it started with a metaphor. Now, this extended metaphor, it basically uses or suggests that the house where the daughter is that is currently writing, it is like a boat. That's a comparison being made, and suggests that like a ship that goes out on a journey, his daughter is, or her daughter is now on a journey to being a writer. It would not clearly be A, because it does not mention anything about anyone peering through a mass-covered front room window. It would also not be B, because it does not make any mention of broken windows. I would want to assume that when we look at where light breaks, one would say, oh, the windows are broken, but no. The suggestion there, or the implication, the suggestion there is that light breaks has to do with where light actually gets to peek in. Remember now, the windows are covered with linen. It is a tray that, obviously is blocking the window. So it would not be B. It would not be D, because D says it is a boat house, a house with bright windows and a girl writing her story. The poem does not say it is a boat house. It uses an extended metaphor to compare the house and her journey that she is currently in and on to the journey of a ship or a boat. So the answer that we're left with is C. It's a room covered with plant and a girl is writing. Number 32 says, the phrase, "a commotion of typewriter keys," line 5, is effective because, remember in literature when we talk about effectiveness of a line or a device, we look at what is it that the poet or author wanted to accomplish and was it accomplished. In this particular question, it focused on commotion of typewriter keys, line 5. Commotion has to do with an uproar. So commotion is basically noise. So the noise that the typewriter key is creating, why is it effective? A says reinforces the metallic drumming of the keys on the desk. That is not the answer. It says keys on the desk. Line 5 does not necessarily make mention of anything about the typewriter being on a desk. So A is out. B says reproduces disorder and discontent in the pace of her writing. While we can associate, or we can say that the word disorder can be connected to commotion because it has to do with noise, the word discontent would force us to eliminate B as an option, because she was never discontented in her writing. What we see is that she might have been having a writer's block, and this is why she paused. But we can also tell that she seemed to be enjoying what she was doing, because her father did say, or her parent did say, that, after pausing, she was at it again and again. So it would not be B. It would also not be C, because C says it describes the systematic and steady sound of a typewriter. Again, when we think of commotion, it is never systematic, nor is it ever steady. It normally makes reference to a state of confusion. So for that reason, C would be out. The answer clearly would be D, which says it recreates the rapid and excited sound of the writer at work. Number 33, it states, like a chain hauled over a gunwale. Line 6 captures the. Now, when we look at line 6, and if we understand what a gunwale is, it is that flat top part of a ship or a boat that we normally would put like the paddle over. So if you're on a boat, you put the paddle on that flat part of the boat, and that's what you use to balance it to row. Now, the word haul suggests that you're being dragging or you're pulling something, or something is being pulled. So that means we're looking for an answer that makes reference to some sort of auditory imagery. Now, if that's clear, it would clearly not be A, because A says picture of the daughter on a ship. Now, that's a visual imagery, and also that particular line does not make reference to the daughter being on a ship. Remember, the ship is being used as an extended metaphor to make reference to the journey that the daughter is on her particular writing career. So A is out. It would not be B, because B says metallic imagery of the gunwale. Yes, we can see the gunwale, but we are basically looking for an auditory imagery because of the word haul, which is used in the line. So B would definitely be out. C is also out because it says image of a locked room and a ship at sea. Again, we're not talking about a ship at sea. It's an extended metaphor used to compare our journey and writing journey to a ship at sea. And also, it creates a visual imagery, and we're not looking for a visual imagery. Our answer must be an auditory imagery. D says, clamor the typewriter keys are making in the quiet house. The word clamor means a loud, confused noise of probably people or an uproar. That captures an auditory imagery, and that would now be our answer. Number 34 says, the bird's situation, stanza 6 to 10, is used to comment on the human condition as it. Stanza 6 to 10, it begins where it talks about, I remember the days the starling, which was trapped in that very room 2 years ago. And it goes all the way down to it lifted off from a chair back, beating a smooth course for the right window and clearing the sail of the world. Now, stanza 6 to 10, it focuses on the wild bird, and it basically is symbolizing the writer's career. Therefore, it would not be A, because A says it reinforces the notion that beauty, blood, and defeat make for compelling stories. Line 6 to 10 focuses on the bird's failure, the bird's weakness, the bird's defeat, but also the bird's success. And for that reason, it would not be A, because it mentioned nothing about the success of the bird, even though it had failed, it had struggled, it had suffered. B, it would not be B also, because when we look at the word tenacity, although it does mean persistence and fright means fear, and we did see that in line 6 to 10, what about the success? What about the moment where the bird actually lifted off? It would not be C, because C makes mention of folly. That alone makes us know that it would not be C. There was no error or folly or foolishness taking place in that particular line. The answer, therefore, would be D. It comments on the human condition, as it shows that pain, struggle, and eventually success can become a universal and celebrated experience. We see where they showed the pain of the bird, they showed the struggle of the bird to get up and fly, and they also showed the success of the bird. In a similar pattern, we are seeing the pain of the daughter, the struggle that she is going through, and of course her eventual success that her father claims that he wishes her. Number 35 says, which of the following best describes the speaker's attitude to his or her daughter? The answer for this is clear. It is respectful and protective. Number 36 says, the best explanation for the function of the whole house seems to be thinking. It would not be A, because A creates the idea of thinking walls and talking houses, and the poem
did not make reference to that. It says that the house seems to be thinking, but it made no mention of talking walls. It would not be B, because B compares the parent silent in their house to the keys of the typewriter. It would not be C either, because it says personifies the boathouse and introduces the peacefulness of the sea imagery. No, does not make reference to that at all. It makes reference to the journey, to a ship's journey. The answer, therefore, is D. Number 37 reads, which of the following adjective best describes the bird in stanzas 7 and 8, lines 19 to 24? Lines 19 read, and retreated, not to affrighted, and ho for a helpless hour. Through the crack of the door we watched the sleek, wild, dark, and iridescent creature batter against the brilliant, dropped like a glove to the hard floor or the desktop, and waited then, pumped and bloody. Now, when we look at that line, it did talk about the fact that the bird is sleek and wild and dark. Now, when we look at these options given, it would not be A, because A makes reference to angry. It did not describe the bird as angry at all. It did describe it as sleek and dazed, but not angry. It would not be C, because it says it is unique and grey and helpless. It does not describe the bird as that. Neither would it be D. The answer, therefore, is B, dazzling, dark, and wild. When we think about the word dazzling, we think about sparkling. We also think about sleek. Number 38 says, which of the following is the best example of an extended metaphor in the poem? So an extended metaphor is a metaphor which is basically carried throughout the poem, and from the very first line to the last line of the poem, we do see the extended metaphor of a ship's journey being compared to the writer's journey. The answer, therefore, is C, a voyage which compares the challenges of growing up to a journey at sea with all the dangers. Number 39 reads, which of the following figurative devices best describes the phrase, her life is a great cargo, line 8, and beating a smooth course for the right window? The answer for this is a clear metaphor. Last question, number 40 says, which of the following is an example of contrast in this poem? It would not be B, the battered bird and the silent house that waits. No, there's no comparison between the two being made there. The active typewriter and the much used desktop, none there either. C, the daughter who writes and the father who is non-observant. The poem did not tell us whether it was a father or a mother, so that would be out. So the answer, therefore, is D, the daughter's youth and the burden of her life experiences. This has taken us to the end of our first part of part 2 of the poetry part of the 2021 paper. Remember to like this video, leave your comment. Do not forget to subscribe, guys. Remember that this does help the channel out a lot, helps it to grow, and growth means that it reaches many other students who are in need of this help. Also, don't forget to hit that notification bell so that you can be informed when a new video is posted. Until then, bye.